So this is the pound US dollar for November the 22nd. Going to talk briefly about the trading plan for today, and I'm going to talk about pivots. So daily pivots are basically just a cheap way of doing support and resistance. Okay, so we have normally the daily pivot. The idea is if the price is trading above that, it's buys. If it's trading below, it sells. Okay. So here yesterday we would have been looking for buys because the price was above the daily pivot. The trend was up on the Bollinger Band. Okay, so we would have been looking to trade signs of strength with VSA, which we saw here. We would have probably have seen a lot more on the 15-minute chart, which I'm not going to go to right now, but I'm not sure how I can fit in a 30-minute chart. Yeah, so we see a sign of strength there. We see a sign of strength here. We see a down bar there on kind of low volume, lower than the previous two, because that's pink bar here means low volume. Okay, then we see the up move, boom, boom, boom. And so because we were above the daily pivot, we would have been looking for buys. Okay, now once we got to, now the idea is that we have three levels: the R1, the R2 and the R3. Okay, and they're calculated on different ways. You can look up how a pivot is calculated, so on and so forth. So when we see weakness around pivot levels, like i.e. here was a no demand, here was a definite no, this was supply entering the market, closed on the lows, and here was an up thrust. This up thrust on the 1 minute is probably the most powerful thing. We actually did get a collapse of the market off of the R2, so we could have traded below the R2 with a stop just above this bar here. So you would basically have entered the trade at 29, say 55, stop at 29.64. You've got about a 10-12 pip stop to make 50 pips. That's a 1-to-5 ratio on your trading, and that's kind of what you want to do in the trading. You don't want 1-to-1 ratios like some people in scalping world do, some people on the forums do. They've got a 20 pip stop to make 10 points. You have to be super accurate to do that, and it's usually a way of losing your money, good way of losing your account. This ratio here was really good. I've already got a sell here, probably a bit early, might get hammered on this one. It's a small loss for me if I do, very small loss, but I just wanted to kind of show how we're going to trade the trading plan today. Okay, so that's how it works. So we got a failure here, and then boof, 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 down we come. We find some definite support here off this daily pivot here. We've got some buyers there, more buyers there, kind of drove the market up. Not a very strong move up here. We've got a bit of a supply area in the background here. So let's go and look at the 4-hour chart. What is it doing? 4 hours, so talking about the daily pivot today, sorry, let's go back to the 1 hour. So as long as we're below the daily pivot, which is 29.22, I'm looking to sell signs of weakness. The 1 hour Bollinger Band is down. The 4 hour Bollinger Band is turning over. So I'm looking to kind of sell signs of weakness on a VSA on a 30-minute chart, okay, after London Open. So I'm looking for more of a breakdown of this level. I'm looking for the 30-minute to turn over. I'm looking for moves down into the, I've got my take profit just above the R1, S1. So let's actually do something, because when I change to the 4 hour, I lose these. So let's plot these lines and put like our lines here, okay? 2920 daily pivot, 2874 daily R1, okay? And because when I switch over to the 4 hour, I lose these on this particular indicator. But you can get indicators that so this is that don't lose on that time frame. So that's the R1, that's the R2, and that's the R3. So actually let's go and look at a 4 hour and see how they look. There's the daily pivot, okay, so that's resistance there, right? Resistance here, so we got resistance to the bottom there. That's the daily R1, which is where my first target is, which is support, okay. That's the daily R2, this is the daily S1, daily S2, which is where my target is, which is the prior resistance here. Remember this 4 hour bar we marked in one of our videos last week. Yeah, we said that was weakness, and look at the volumes here. They just dried up on the pound completely. This is because of the election. Okay, I'm not really a big fan of trading the pound these days. I'm just doing this because to show you on the video and see how this trade actually works out. Hopefully it works out, and if it does, we can show you how the trade worked out. That's kind of why I took it. It's a small couple of lot positions for me. The risk is relatively small and the gain is not that big. My gain is only $776. That's nothing. So basically, if we break down below this level, we're coming into the what's called the S1. Here's the S2, okay, which is 28.45, again right in the middle of this support and resistance cluster here. And then here we have the daily S3 at 27.97, and that's the low of that bar. It's always the same with these pivots. They're kind of a cheap way of doing support and resistance. If you've got problems putting support and resistance on the charts, you don't know how to plot it, pivots are a good way of doing it, okay? So today's trading plan is to trade down to the downside, okay? We're going to look for signs of weakness on any up moves. We're going to trade down to the first pivot level here, which is 28.74, which is where my take profit is, okay? Which is the S1, very conservative. Normally you can trade down safely to the S2. So my real kind of target might be this 28.45 area, which would give us about an 80-point drop on the pound, which is probably about right in this day and age, okay? Because the pound volatility's dropped off. So I'm looking for this kind of flag thing here, or whatever this is, to break, which we are kind of breaking right now and retesting. I'm looking to remain below the daily pivot. I'm looking for a move down to the downside here. Okay, so that's kind of trading plan on that for today and how pivots are used.